Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So today we are taking a look at the Tier 7 Premium Elephants on Melqart. I think that's how we're going to pronounce it. Yes, a special thanks to, we've had a donation from one of my subscribers who allowed me to get this unit, and that's obviously very much appreciated. And I thought, I was sort of thinking about what units would be best to review from the premiums we've got available. And I was always kind of interested in this one because Gore is a sort of a unique ability to them, and something that's talked about quite a lot. So yeah, I thought these would be a good one to take a look at and see how they compare with the Tier 7 Armoured Elephants, which is one of the units I've also unlocked. So yes, let's get straight in. Obviously I have been playing the Tier 7 Armoured Elephants a little bit. I've got these guys unlocked and I've done a separate video of them, so if you flick back a couple of weeks I'm sure you can find that and see what I've fought to them. I hadn't got them fully upgraded, but the only changes are a slight movement speed and body armour. I've got the weapon upgrade, so they're doing the same amount of damage. Now, statistically, I'm finding these units to be very similar. If we take a look at things like, obviously things like charge impact damage are pretty irrelevant. Both units have access to Stampede, but it's not a particularly damaging charge, it's more that it allows you just to get well into contact with the enemy units. Things like the weapon attack and the weapon damage are pretty similar across the board on both units. Once the armoured elephants are upgraded, they're both running sort of just under 150 weapon damage, and penetration is basically exactly the same. 58 plus 5 and 58 plus 7, so slightly more on the armoured elephant, but pretty negligible. If you watch you see the actual weapon damage is pretty low, so it's likely not going to do that much extra on top unless you're fighting pretty low armour units. So it's really about that penetration damage that is allowing these guys to do a good amount of damage. Obviously, if you ran consumables on these guys, you'll be getting up a little bit higher, but as a general rule, they're pretty similar in terms of their attack capabilities. Defense rise. Obviously, again, very similar. These are 201, but of course, once we add, well, I wouldn't run with super heavy armour, I'd run with the lighter armour, which gives that 20 body armour and 4 for that, so you're going to get 24 onto that, so it's going to take it to 225, which I think is actually the base 221 on this, and then obviously adding on consumables, which aren't really relevant. So, body armour-wise, very similar, you know, we're talking a couple of points difference, it's really not going to make that much of a difference at this sort of level. Onto that, missile block chance 38 for this one. I think that's going to be pretty similar. For this one, slightly higher on this, and that will actually go up again because it gets another 4 missile block chance on that, so it does have a slightly better missile block chance. But yeah, by and large, these guys are all pretty similar. There's actually a slight lack of mobility in this one because it's got a 3.9 base, but that's fully upgraded. Whereas obviously the armoured elephant yet hasn't currently got any of its movement speed upgrades, and that's going to get plus another 5% movement speed. It has a slightly lower base, I think. Mobility 3.8. So again, you know, there's going to be slight differences, but really not a lot in it. So that's kind of my point. They're pretty much the same unit. The differences come down to their abilities. So basically, on the armored elephants, you get the classic ability, which is Roar, as you can see here. Obviously, gives the enemy a morale debuff and a slight movement speed debuff. Not a particularly useful ability, but you know, every now and then it has its moments. Obviously, elephants don't really cause flanking damage or anything, so you're never going to rout an enemy with that little bit of morale. Obviously, if you're in a fight with other allied units, then, you know, maybe that might be the little bit you need to get an enemy to rout, but by and large, not a particularly useful ability. Whereas on the Melqart, the premium unit, we get Gore. So Gore is basically a strike. It gives, it does quite a lot of damage, it increases the damage and the penetration, so it means the hit does quite a lot. And it's like a strike, it throws its head and basically knocks enemy units out of the way. So it's useful for knockdown because when you're alternating between Gore and Stomp, you know, it means this has got a 20-second cooldown, then you've got a similar length of cooldown on Stomps. I mean, every 10 seconds you're causing a knockdown effect. And across 3 elephants, that means you can almost keep enemy units permanently knocked down through a variety of abilities. But most importantly is when you're fighting other elephants, because it means you do a full damage hit. So you can walk into the enemy elephants, do your natural attack, then a Stomp, then a Gore. You know, you're going to be killing enemy elephants very, very quickly. And that's where it's most effective. Hopefully we'll get in a game and we can see that in a game. So yeah, overall, they kind of are a little bit better than the armoured elephants, maybe. In terms of statistics, they're like the same or slightly worse, but that Gore is quite a nice ability, certainly to have. Obviously, they're not super fast. It's only 3.9 base mobility. Obviously, I'm running with the consumables. Obviously, running with handball, you get that 19% movement speed with force march, which makes it a bit more worthwhile. Consumable wise, it's the same choices as all the other elephants, but there's no real choice to be had. the only things that are really useful, down payment obviously is nice because you get the increase to damage, that weapon penetration damage, which is going to result in a higher damage output. I know people will think you get the melee weapon damage with Anatha Blessing, but of course with it being such a low amount of damage, melee weapon damage, it means you're probably not going to be penetrating many people's armour and shield, so it doesn't actually really add any damage to you. Whereas adding on the penetration damage is a base damage, it's always going to be in effect. It's obviously nice. Morale is completely useless because the elephants don't really work with morale. And of course I'm running with the imported wild apples for that movement speed buff. 7% is obviously quite nice, and turn speed as well is pretty useful because these aren't the most manoeuvrable things ever. Their turn speed, as with all elephants, is pretty shocking, so they're pretty slow in that. So I think I have certainly been waffling enough about these guys, so let's get into a battle and see how we get on with them. So we are loading into the Battle of Rubicon. Looks like we've got quite a few tier 8s on our team, so the enemy probably got the same. So we'll just play a bit carefully and see how we get on. Where am I going to go? Perhaps spawn a bit at the back. Obviously, while we've not got vast amounts of movement speed, we're still going to have what the base is 3.9, I believe, and then it's plus point, so we're going to be 4.1, and we activate Force March. We're going to be getting into the sort of high 4s, I would have thought, on movement speed. So we're certainly not going to be slow. We're going to be quicker than most infantry units. So we'll sort of move up to see what we can see. Obviously, things we need to be avoiding with elephants are things like javelins. Yeah, 4.7. Things like javelins, like artillery, possibly archers to some extent can be quite a problem for us. Particularly if they've got a reasonable penetration damage. So let's start to get moving and see what we come up against. Some barbarians, some proven warriors with some enemy cavalry going up to the north. Obviously I would fight the Eagle cohort, but you've got to be bearing if they're going to go straight in with a vengeance, we probably want to pull out to that as deactivated because that'll do quite a lot of damage to us. I can also see some enemy elephants in the distance down to the south. I'm conscious of getting too close to these guys. I think it might be best to think about trying to keep out of the way of them. Some of our slingers are trying to get into range of the enemy archers. Of course, there was enemy cavalry skirting around the map sometime. Yeah, there is down there. So let's think about... Bit of a stalemate. These guys don't want to advance. And of course, these tier 6s don't want to be getting stuck in with those higher tier Romans. So I think we'll think about moving down out of the way, using our sort of relatively decent mobility to get going. Obviously, we can use Stampede to get a little bit of extra movement speed. And as we're going to push back from that, hopefully we won't come to range of these archers too much. Obviously, that is always a risk. These slingers are playing a dangerous game. Trying to fight off against these units of enemy archers. Looks like most of the enemy units are pushing down to the south. We've got to bear in mind that enemy cavalry is probably still around our base somewhere. Can we see him? No. Don't know where he is, but there's enemy cavalry still kicking around somewhere. These archers are starting to push the centre. I don't really want to be going against a group of archers because it's very easy for them to pull out of the engagement. You know, I'm going to be slower than them. Probably if they've got force march, if they've got dash activated and their rapid advance that Kanane obviously has available. So I don't be fighting that. I'll be more inclined to get involved with some of these spearmen around here, some of these other elephants we've got going on. Maybe we can try and test out some of these elephants and try our Gore ability, see how we fare against some armoured elephants. So let's activate a Stampede, try and get that little bit of extra movement speed. It's got a relatively quick cooldown on it, so hopefully we should get it back soon. And let's try and go for this armoured elephant over here. That's what we wanted to try to kill. All the enemy cavalry has just dived out the forest as well. So we should be quicker than this guy, I would have thought. So let's try and go for this elephant. He's obviously going to try and make a break for it because, well, one is facing off against 3 elephants, which is obviously a danger to him, and hopefully I'm going to be quicker than him. Let's see if we can force a fight. If not, we can at least try and get into a fight with the rest of the enemy elephants as they appear down here, because I wouldn't have thought they're all going to run away from me. But maybe they will. So let's have a look. If we can try and get a little bit closer, maybe I'll get caught on a tree. No, that's unfortunate. Okay, let's find someone to stampede against. Go for a stampede. Maybe we can get a hit in early. Oh, we don't really. Come on, turn your attention against this guy. This is where the lack of movement speed is a real problem. So let's all get in. Let's go for a Gore. Look at that instant kill on the enemy elephant. Okay, that's good. That is what we like to see. That is the benefit of Gore. Let's get stuck in with these other armoured elephants over here. And we've still, of course, got our Stomp activated. So let's all get in. Let's go for our Stomp. Only 2 of our units. Ah, there we go. We're all activated. We're going to get our Gore back in a couple of seconds. I might be inclined not to activate it on this first unit, though, because it's about to die. So let's turn on this unit. Come on, guys. Wait till they make sure they're properly paying attention. Then let's go for a Gore. Double kill. So it kills it straight away. Now you can see the strength of Gore and why it's so effective. And that is the enemy elephants pretty much all dead, I think. Okay, so let's deactivate our forced march. And maybe turn onto these guys in their hoplite phalanx. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for us, I shouldn't have thought. We'll just go for a double stomp there, get a good rate of knockdown. And let's start to come to work on this enemy unit. Of course, we didn't activate our porters at all in that, which is probably not the best move to have done. Let's go for a Gore. See, it just flicks the infantry. It's quite funny to watch. It flicks the infantry up and out the way. It's obviously quite effective. But, you know, it's not necessarily, it's not something to worry about too much against infantry, but it's mainly an anti-elephant weapon. Which hopefully that just proved there how effective it is against the enemy elephants. That was just perfect. It absolutely slaughters them so quickly. You've just got to be careful to make sure your units aren't... And it's hard to describe how they act, but sometimes if they've just finished an ability, they're kind of in between phases. And sometimes if you activate it there, it won't properly activate as it should. So it's worth trying to avoid doing that. So I'm going to be trying to avoid these veteran legionaries, I think, because they're going to be still having vengeance activated, and that's not really what I want to be doing. If I can help it. We'll think about going for a stampede. Obviously struggling a little bit with all the missile hits we're receiving. If I go force march, we're going to lose obviously what missile block chance we have, which is going to make us a bit more vulnerable. But I'm thinking maybe it's time to get out of this bit of a battle anyway because of the way things are going. I don't want to get these guys until their vengeance is deactivated, which I think now maybe it has. So let's go off on force march and start to get stuck in. We're obviously going to have a bit of a hard time against these guys, I would have thought. Because there's quite so many of them, and they do have a very high weapon penetration value on those guys, so it's going to be take quite a lot of damage. Oh, quite a lot of damage. Don't like it. Oh, first one's down already. Let's go in with our Gore, and we'll go for our activating our determination, which gives a little bit of more melee attack and defensibility. That's why I've usually got force march on. I think this is going to be our end. We could try and make a break for it, I suppose. Okay, let's try and do that. Come on, guys. I should maybe have activated a stomp first. Are we going to get out? We're not going to get out, are we? We're not going to make it. 172 hit points. Oh, we've got hamstringed. How can you hamstring an elephant? I hadn't noticed that. That wasn't very well played on my part. Okay. Well, we actually had an average-ish sort of game there. Yeah, as I was trying to say, the strength of those elephants, the premium elephant, is not necessarily against infantry, although obviously they're still ruthlessly effective against infantry, particularly people like those hoplites and stuff like that, which don't have a vengeance or a very high melee penetration damage like these station warriors. But they're effective against other elephants. They just kill them so easily because that Gore, you know, it's like a double hit because you're getting the 40% melee weapon penetration and damage, and penetration is effectively a damage increase anyway, so you're getting like quite a knock up to the amount of damage you're going to do, and it means you end up doing 10,000 damage or something like that per Gore hit, and combine that with the fact that it then gives you another attack, and it then still means you've still got the stomp which you can use, and you've got a stampede you can use. It means you can take down enemy elephants within seconds if you use it properly. You just got to make sure you get it timed correctly and stuff like that. It's like our poor barbarian infantry are having a bit of a hard time with this one. I don't think they're going to have a lot of luck against these Dacian warriors here. Poor Romans are going to have a bit of a rough time with that, I think. Some of our cavalries are duking it out. Blood Riders against Niflheim Riders. I think we're going to end up losing this one, to be honest. A couple of units of pikemen here. Again, this sort of later stage in the game, sort of the immobility, it's going to make them pretty hard to do a lot, I think. Going to have to do something if they don't want us to get capped out. Oh, that's nice. Some of the barbarians managed to rear flank the enemy falksmen. That's nice. That tipped the battle a little bit more in our favour. It's kind of down now to the pikemen's abilities to decap on these enemy Dacian warriors. But it seems they don't want to actually do that. So it doesn't looks like we are going to lose, unfortunately. Unless they want to attack the falksmen, but it doesn't look like it. Ooh, I wonder why it got reset. Do we have like... Ah! Oh, some hero slingers hitting at the back. Ah, it's this guy's slingers. I didn't realise he got them hidden there. Well, that could have been quite a good move. Depends if our team can intercept. Ooh, some tier 7 barbarians and some Romans. This is never going to be very easy. Oh, they're not going to get away from that one. Obviously our cavalry running out of the base. And these are... Oh, these are Boudica. Unless these guys can get these guys to rout, which they may do. It goes to minus 16. Ooh, come on. Come on, my people. Oh, they just stopped it just in time. And now they're going to get rear flanked by Romans. And they're going to end up routing themselves if they're not careful. Did they get a rebellion activated? Oh, I think they just did. Oh, friendly cavalry dashing in at the back. And I think, unfortunately, it is not going to be enough, particularly now these Romans that have got their vengeance activated. They didn't get those Andratus swords to rout, which is a bit unfortunate. So I think that's going to be the end of the game for these guys. Yes, does not look good for them. And our few remaining pikemen aren't having a particularly great time with things either. Trying to get some of these guys a good caught, I think, without their pikes down. And they used a shield bash, but it didn't allow them to get their pikes down, unfortunately. So I think that's the end for this game. But still, we gave it a good shot. I shouldn't have got quite stuck into those Falconsmen like I did, obviously, with their high penetration damage of kind of effective against elephants. But yeah, as I say, hopefully this video proves kind of why these guys are quite good and why I quite enjoy them. There's something quite satisfying about walking up to enemy elephants and just almost insta-ing them with Gore, because it is just truly that effective. So there you go, our last few units there, and I think that is perhaps the end of the game. Oh, apart from a couple of slingers, who hopefully is not going to hang on to for absolutely ever and ever, because I thought it's going to drag this one on a little bit. Come on, my man, just kill your slingers. Or do we have to wait for the enemy to cap out the base? I actually got a decap in. Nice. Oh dear, I hate it when things like that. I don't know why it's just going to run. It's probably one of these people who tends to... it seems to be, please don't be this person, where you have like 4 units left and then you go and hide at the edge of the map just so that the game has to carry on for like another 4 minutes. There's really not a lot of point to it, and you're not really going to be earning a great amount of experience points doing it. It's just kind of annoying for everyone else who wants to get stuck into another game. So we'll probably call the battle at the end there. Let's leave on that one, because otherwise we're just going to be sat there for absolutely ever. It's safe to say that we have lost that battle. Although it was a pretty close one. So yes, all in all, pretty good premium units. There's certainly a premium unit to have. I can recommend them. Certainly on par with the tier 7s. I don't think they're necessarily better than the tier 7s, because statistically wise they're sort of on or a little bit below. And Gore's ability, main strength, is tackling other elephants rather than just enemy units in general. It's good against infantry, don't get me wrong, but it's not anything special against infantry compared to Stomp or anything like that. So yeah, overall a pretty cool unit, and I certainly can't deny that they look pretty cool. I mean, get all the war paint, it makes them look pretty awesome. So yes, all in all, a pretty good unit. Hopefully you found this review helpful. Gives you an idea sort of what the Gore's all about. If you have, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give the video a like. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content. And thanks guys, I shall see you all on the next video.